Hello, boys and girls, freaks and geeks, children of all ages. Welcome back to the Creepypasta Power Hour. Now, today's story is going to be a bit different. Today, we are reading Sonic.exe. Now, of course, it's 2025. Everyone knows that the original story is dog shit, right? But that doesn't really matter to you now, does it? It's fucking fun. It's campy. It's bullshit. It's terrible. And that's why we like Sonic.exe. So, today, we're not going to do a review. We're not going to do anything crazy. We're just going to read the story straight. And with that said, turn the lights down and the volume up, because we're about to get into some creepy gaming. I'm a total Sonic the Hedgehog fan, much like everyone else. I like the newer games, but I don't mind playing the classics. I don't think I've ever played glitchy or hacked games before, though I don't think I want to play any after the experience I had. I started on a nice summer afternoon. I was playing Sonic Unleashed until I noticed, out of my peripheral vision, that the mailman had arrived and put something in the mailbox as usual and left. I paused my game to go see what was in the mail. The only thing in the mailbox was a CD case for computers and a note. I took it inside. I looked at the note first and realized it was from my dear friend Kyle, whom I hadn't heard from in 2 weeks. I know that because I recognized his handwriting, though what was weird is how it looked. It was terribly written and scratchy, somewhat difficult to read, as if Kyle was having a hard time writing it down and did so in a hurry. This is what he wrote. Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing before it was too late. I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me. And if you don't destroy the CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Please, Kyle. Well, that's certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend, I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. I didn't do what he asked me. I didn't think that a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Anyway, I looked at the disc and it looked much like any computer CD disc, except it had black marker on it written Sonic.exe. It was much unlike Kyle's handwriting, meaning that he must have gotten it from someone else, like a pawn shop or eBay. When I saw Sonic on the writing of the CD, I was actually excited and wanted to play it. I'm a big Sonic fan. I went up to my room and turned on my computer and put the disc in and installed the game. When the title screen popped up, I noticed it was the first Sonic game. Awesome! Because, like I said earlier, I liked the classics. The first thing I noticed that was out of place was when I pressed start. There was a split second when I saw the title image turned into something much different. Something now that I consider horrifying, before cutting to black. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened and the title emblem was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red like blood. But the freakiest thing that was in that split second frame was Sonic. His eyes were pitch black and bleeding, with two glowing red dots staring right at me, and his smile had stretched wider up the edge of the face. I was rather disturbed about the image when I saw it. I thought I figured that it was a glitch and forgot about it. After it cut to black, it stayed for about 10 seconds or so, and then another weird thing happened. The save file select from Sonic the Hedgehog 3 popped up. What the fuck? What's this doing in the first Sonic game? Anyways, then I noticed something was off. The background was dark, cloudy sky of the bad Stardust Speedway level from Sonic CD. There's only 3 save files. The music was Creepy Caverns Winter from Earthbound, only it was extended and it seemed to have been in reverse. The image for the save file when you see a preview of the level you're on is just red static for all 3 levels. What freaked me out more was the character select. It only showed Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure that something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game? That's when I realized that this wasn't a glitchy game, it was hacked. Yeah, it was definitely hacked. It looked real creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared, at least tried not to be. I told myself that it's just a hacked game, there's nothing wrong with it. Shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked File 1 and chose Tails, and when I selected and started the game, It froze for 5 seconds, and I heard a creepy, pixelated laugh that sounded an awful lot like Kefka from Final Fantasy before cutting to black. The screen stayed black for about 10 seconds or more, then it showed the typical level thing, except the simplistic shapes were different shades of red. The text showed only Hill, Act 1. The screen faded in, and the level title vanished, revealing Tails in Green Hill Zone from Sonic 1. The music was different, though. It sounded like a peaceful melody in reverse. Anyways, I started playing and had Tails start running like you would in any classic Sonic game. What was odd was that Tails was running along a level that was nothing but flat ground and a few trees for 5 minutes. That was when the peaceful music started to lower down into a slow, deep tone very slowly as I kept going. I suddenly saw something and stopped to see what it was. It was one of the small animals lying dead on the ground bleeding. Tails had a shocked and saddened look on his face. I never saw him have that before. I had to keep moving. I moved along, and he kept that worried look on his face. As he kept moving, I saw more and more dead animals as Tails moved past them, looking more and more worried. The music lowers, and he moves past more dead animals. I was shocked to see how they all died. They looked like somebody killed them in rather gruesome ways. A squirrel was hanged from the tree, with what appeared to be his entrails hanging out. A bunny had all 4 limbs torn off, and a duck had his eyes gouged out and his throat slit. I felt sick to my stomach when I saw this massacre, and apparently so did Tails. After a few more seconds, there were no more animals, and the music seemed to have stopped, but I still kept Tails going. After a minute passed after the music stopped, Tails was running up a hill, and then he stopped. It wasn't until I saw why. Sonic was there on the other side of the screen with his back against Tails. With his eyes closed, Tails looked happy to see Sonic, but then his smile faltered, obviously noticing that Sonic wasn't responding to him, as if not acting totally oblivious of Tails' presence. Tails walked slowly towards Sonic, and I noticed that I wasn't even moving my keyboard to make him move, so this had to be a cutscene. Suddenly, I began to have a growing feel of dread as Tails walked closer to Sonic to get his attention. I felt that Tails was in danger and something bad was going to happen. I heard faint static growing louder and louder as Tails was getting closer, inches away from Sonic, and stopped and stuck his hand out to touch him. That foreboding feeling in my gut was growing stronger, and I felt the urge to tell Tails to get away from Sonic as the static grew louder. Suddenly, in a split second, Sonic's eyes opened, and they were black with those red glowing dots, just like the title image, though there wasn't a smile. When that happened, the screen turned black and the static sound was off. It stayed black for 7 seconds, and white text appeared, forming a message saying, "Hello, do you want to play with me?" At this point, I was obviously creeped out. I didn't want to continue the game, but my curiosity got the better of me when I was taken to a different level with the title saying, "Hide and Seek." Tails looked as though he was scared out of his wits this time. He actually looked at me and made frantic gestures, as if he wanted to get out of the area he was in as fast as possible. I was starting to get freaked out by this. I mean, Tails was actually breaking the fourth wall, trying to tell me to get him out of there. So I pressed down on the arrow key as hard as I could and made him run as fast as possible, a pixelated version of that creepy theme when you meet Shadow at the Ark as Robotnik from SA2 was playing. As I made Tails trek through the desolate forest trying to help him escape from whatever was trying to run him down, then suddenly I heard that awful Kefka laugh again, right after 10 seconds have passed. As I helped Tails run through the forest, then I started seeing flashes of Sonic popping up everywhere on screen, with those black and red eyes. The music changed to a suspenseful, drowning jingle. As I see Sonic behind Tails slowly gain up on him flying, Sonic wasn't running, he was flying. The flying pose looked similar to Metal Sonic's flying in Sonic CD, except it wasn't. It was just Sonic, and he had the black-red eyes again, only this time he had the most deranged-looking grin on his face. He looked as though he was enjoying the torment he was giving the poor little fox as he gained up on him. Suddenly, when Tails tripped, the music stopped and Sonic vanished. Tails laid there crying for 15 seconds. The scene was upsetting to watch, and I kind of teared up myself. But then Sonic appeared right in front of Tails, and Tails looked up in horror. Blood started to come down from those blackened eyes as Sonic's grin grew from his face. As he looked down at the horrified fox, I could do nothing but watch. Just in a split second, Sonic lunged at Tails right before the screen went black. There's a loud, screeching noise that only lasted 5 seconds. The text returned, only this time it said, "You're too slow. Want to try again?" And then that god-awful laugh came with it. I was so shocked by what happened. Did Sonic just murder Tails? No, he couldn't have. He and Tails were supposed to be best friends, right? Why would Sonic do that? I shook the shock off, and as I was brought back to the character select, Tails was different. Tails was no longer the box itself, but in the TV screen, flickering with a red static. Tails' expression scared me. His eyes were black and bleeding. His orange fur was black, and he had an expression of anguish. Trying to ignore it, I picked Knuckles next. The laugh came again, and the screen cut to black and stayed there for another 10 seconds. This time the level said, "You can't run." I was really freaked out by now, but I couldn't really tell if this was a glitch or a hack or some kind of sick, twisted joke. Or anything really, but despite my fear of what happened next, I kept going. The next level looked different, much different. It had the ground of the Scrap Brain Zone, but the sky background looked like the main menu. It had the dark, reddish, cloudy sky, but it was the music that freaked me out the most. It sounded like the Gaius theme right after you beat Pokey in Earthbound. I noticed that Knuckles looked afraid, just like Tails did, though not as much. More rather unnerved. He broke the fourth wall just like Tails, and looked as if he wasn't sure about what was going on, but I made him move anyways. He ran down the straight pathway of this dark level, and as he did, the screen started to flicker red static a couple of times, and then that maddening laugh came again. Then, after a few seconds of running, I noticed several bloodstains on the metallic ground. I felt a growing sense of fear again, thinking something horrible was going to happen to Knuckles. He looked nauseated, walking down this blood-stained road, but I kept going. Suddenly, as Knuckles ran, Sonic appeared right in front of him with those black and red eyes, and then red static appeared again. When it vanished, nothing but a black screen with the text saying, "Found you." I was scared. Sonic found Knuckles already? What was going on? Anyways, the red static came again, and then it was back to the level. Knuckles looked like he was panicking. Sonic was nowhere to be found, and this time, the high-pitched squealing from Silent Hill 1's final boss was playing. Was this some kind of boss battle with Sonic? I hoped to God it wasn't. Suddenly, Sonic appeared right behind Knuckles in what appeared to be pixelated black smoke. I made Knuckles turn and punch Sonic, but Sonic vanished in black pixelated smoke before I could land a hit. That terrible laugh went off again. Then Sonic appeared behind Knuckles. I made him punch again and he vanished, laughing. Knuckles was panicking even more, and even I felt like I was going crazy. Sonic was basically playing with us. He was playing a sick, twisted mind game with me and Knuckles. Another cutscene played as Knuckles fell to his knees and clutching his head, sobbing. I felt his agony. Sonic was driving us both crazy. And then in a split second, Sonic lunged at Knuckles, and the screen went black with another distorted, screeching noise that lasted for at least 3 seconds. Another text message appeared. So many souls to play with, so little time, wouldn't you agree? What the hell? What was that? I started to think Sonic was actually trying to talk to me through the game, but I was too scared to think of that. I was brought back to the main menu, and this time the second file box had Knuckles in the TV screen, his fur blackened into a reddish gray. His dreadlocks were dripping with blood, and his eyes were black and bleeding too. He had a look of sadness on his face, and I began to think that these were actually the characters trapped in those TV screens. I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it, so I shut the game off and took a break. I took a nap, but I wish I hadn't, because then I began to have the most disturbing nightmare. Pitch black darkness, though I was under the light given off by a lamp that hung high above my head. I could hear the cries of Knuckles and Tails nearby. They were saying stuff like, "Help us, why did you give us to him? Run away before he gets you too." Their cries died out as I heard Sonic laugh. His laugh, the distorted Kefka laugh. "You're a lot of fun to play with, kid. Just like your friend Kyle, though he didn't last long." I was scared, looking around for the source of the voice. Won't be long now until you join him and all my other friends. I saw him walking towards me, flickering in and out of several directions. You can't run, kid. You're in my world, just like the others. When he grabbed me, I saw his black and red-eyed grin. I woke up in fright. After a couple of hours, I decided to keep playing the game. I don't know why, but I had to know. I had to figure out what was happening, so I turned on the computer. I turned on the game and selected Robotnik. I still thought that was wacky, playing as Robotnik, but anyway, the level tile appeared again, and this time it said ... which I found really freaky. This time, it was some kind of hallway. It didn't really look like any classic Sonic games, though. It had the pixelated style. The floor was shiny and checkered. The walls were a dark grayish purple with this animated candlelight, and after a few dark bloodstains here and there, there was a dark red curtain hanging above the top part of the screen. Every 12 seconds or so, that red curtain sways very slowly, but whenever you're playing the game, you can barely see it move. The music was oddly pleasant, a piano playing a rather sad but peaceful song. I knew better. This was the song that played in Hill Act 1, but it wasn't in reverse. Robotnik didn't look entirely nervous like Knuckles and Tails did, but he was suspicious, as if he was paranoid. He did a little animation when I was just standing. He turns his head to the left and then to the right, at least twice, and then shrugs at me as if he has no idea where he was or what was going on. Even though I was scared out of my mind about what was going on, I had Robotnik continue onward. He did his usual running animation as we continued going through the hallway. Then I stopped at a long flight of stairs leading downwards. Now, I was nervous. Even Robotnik seemed unsure of himself, though we pressed onward. As I led Robotnik down the stairs, I noticed the walls have gotten darker and more reddish. The red torches are now an eerie blue. Then we landed on another hallway. This one was longer than the last one. Then we headed down another flight of stairs, this one much longer, at least a full minute. Then I heard that horrid Kefka laugh again. Then the music slowly faded in until it was quiet. As it did, the walls turned a dark red and the torches were a black flame now. Suddenly, Sonic popped right in front of Robotnik the same way he did Knuckles. Then the red static. The red static lasted 15 seconds and he showed me the most unpleasant image. The image was Sonic standing in darkness where you can only see his face while his head and torso faded to black. He looked so real you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touch the screen. His face, oh god. He had the most horrifying smile I'd ever seen. That's saying something considering I saw that image at the start of the game. His eyes are wide and black and once again crying blood, and there were two small, glowing red dots in those black eyes staring right at me, as if staring into my mind. His grin was very wide and demonic. It literally stretched from the sides of his face like a Cheshire cat, except Sonic had fangs, very sharp fangs, much like a werehog's teeth, except more vicious looking, somewhat yellow from the look of it. He had stains of blood and small bits of flesh on his lips, as if the fangs ate some animal. I stared at the gruesome image for about 30 seconds, never taking my eyes off of it. I felt as if he was looking at me, smiling at me. That face, it just took 10 seconds for it to etch itself into my mind for good. Then the screen flickered, the red static 3 times, and on the 3rd time I heard the Kefka laugh, except this time it was demonic. It went back to the image again, except this time there's text, though it was messed up. It was one of the most horrifying things I looked at since I had this game. I am God. It was then, when I read that message while looking at Sonic when it hit me, I realized right there and then, this Sonic was a monster, pure evil, sadistic, all-powerful, nightmarish, demented monster. All of his victims, including Tails, Robotnik, possibly Kyle, are just his little toys. The game is the gateway into his chaotic, nightmarish world, the very hell his victims are trapped in. Suddenly, in a split second, I screamed as Sonic lunged at the screen, screeching loudly with his mouth wide open. before the red static came again, this time much louder and distorted, so loud that it hurt my ears. I yelled and grabbed my ears as the static screeched for a good 7 seconds. Then it stopped and showed nothing but a black screen. Ready for round 2, Tom? The Kefka laugh, now sounding more clear as if Sonic was right behind me, played 3 times. As I looked at the text in shock and confusion, then I got booted back to the main menu. The third screen had Robotnik on it, the same tormented state as Tails and Knuckles. Robotnik's skin turned a dull gray, his mustache drooped and had blackened, his glasses broke and blood coming from them, the mere dead-like expression on his face. I looked at Tails, Knuckles, Robotnik, and cried a bit. I pitied them for the agony they're going through. They were trapped forever within the game, forever tormented by that horrid hedgehog. And always will be. The computer shut itself off. I couldn't turn it back on. I sat there for 25 seconds, horrified about what happened. Sonic is a very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who plays his game in more ways than one, and then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game, literally drags you to hell, where he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. It sat there for 25 seconds, and I heard a voice right behind me. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turned around to see where the voice was coming from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring right at me, was a Sonic plushie smiling with bloodstains under its eyes. Yippee! Holy fuck, that was a treat, boys and girls. Honestly, I should read more shit pastas or troll pastas or whatever you want to call these. Oh boy, that was fun. If you have any more gaming creepypastas that you want me to read, leave them down below. I hope the narration was a bit better this time. I tried to go more and more on keeping the same tone and inflection because usually my voice gets weaker, but I felt like I did a pretty good job this time. Let me know what you thought down below. With that said, I'm gonna go read some more creepypastas. I've got work in like 5 hours. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a ton of fun making this.